Hi, this is Brandon Ibrooks, managing editor with the Los Angeles Sentinel newspaper and also the LA Watch Times. It's my absolute pleasure today to be here with our mayor of Los Angeles, Mr. Eric Garcetti, and also the new LAPD police chief, Mr. Michael Moore. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And we're here today as a special behind-the-scenes exclusive, as you all were visiting South Los Angeles today. You visited the world-famous Doolin's Soul Food. I know you had some good food and a good lunch today. And we also here at the Avalon Carver Community Center. So tell me today, I'll start with you, the police chief, about what was the goal of coming to South LA, being one of the first stops and kind of, being amongst our community today?
Well, it was to show both by my action as well as my word how important this part of the community is to me as not just a police officer and a police chief, but as just another Angelino. Los Angeles is made up of so many rich communities, and so many of those communities have history, and not all that history with the police has been good. And I'm committed to working on each of those communities to be a police chief that listens first and hears and does everything possible to address concerns and grievances that communities may have, and also to represent my officers. My men and women of this department are great and tremendous people who come to work each day to do good work, to be service, to make sacrifice. And I get to take the words and messages I heard today, for instance, back to them and help frame the conversation with them as they go about to do their work.
How about you, Mr. Mayor? How was the meeting today, and what was the point of you all you accompanying the new chief today?
Well, Mike Moore is no stranger to Los Angeles or to any neighborhood. He started as a young police officer in Newton Division, a little bit to the north of here. But to all of us, I think you don't judge a city just on the mountain peaks, that the Olympics are coming, or a new football club is opening up, or that the Lucas Museum is going to be built here in Expo Park, that the subway is coming. We have to look at where we still have valleys. Talking with young people who have such hopes but can't find a place to live. Folks that are intense around all the neighborhoods of our city, and figure out how public safety is really something that is a partnership, a responsibility of all of us. And the reason I chose Mike Moore to be our next chief is I knew that he was the person who could implement that next chapter, not only of LAPD's history, but also of our city's history. And to me, that starts in South LA. This is where my father grew up. Just a week and a half ago, he had his elementary school, 68th Street, renamed for him, the Gil Garcetti Learning Academy. Yeah. Thank you. It was one of the proudest days for our family ever. But it was also, there's a history for each one of these young people. There could be a future DA right here. There could be a police chief or a mayor that we're talking to, a tech entrepreneur, maybe the next Mark Zuckerberg. So it was important for us to listen, to hear, and also to see what we can do better with, because I think LAPD is not the LAPD of 20 years ago. In fact, is the model for many things in this country. But all police departments in this country still can improve and get better, and especially deepen those ties with all communities.
Let's talk about that, the improvements and some of the adjustments. We know you're going to be on the front lines of, changing things or modifying things to say. What are some of the things that we can expect your administration to bring that's, different, or maybe some of the same? You let us know.
Well, I think the deepening of community trust involves more and more giving officers and providing officers resources so that they can have those contacts in the field that are not just enforcement oriented. Our community safety partnerships that we have in various housing developments that we're starting across the way here at the end of this year in South Park through the generosity of the Ballmer Foundation and the support of city government and this department is going to improve relationships that is going to move us forward. So when I talk about building trust, that building trust is done each time there's an officer who has an encounter with a person in the community. And how I intend to be a chief is, as Chief Beck and others have encouraged us, I'm going to continue and amplify our engagement, our presence in our houses of faith, our presence in roll calls in the street, our efforts to have coffee with a cop, visibility, so that we're visible, we're accessible, and we're responsive. That's what I intend to do, and it won't just be me. I mean, while I'll become the new face of LAPD, it's also a modeling of activity and behavior and accessibility that I expect and I know the men and women of LAPD are ready for.
Mr. Mayor, tell me what did you see in this fine man here that ultimately made your decision? We know it was tough. It was a really three candidates that were very well sought after. But tell us what made that final decision for you?
As I said, it was the easiest and hardest decision of my life. Easiest because I could have thrown a dart at any of those three names and had an excellent chief. Most difficult because each one of them I think brought a piece of the vision But Mike Moore brought the best ability to implement. Somebody who has been doing the work of reform, somebody who came in and was, for instance, the first captain after the Rampart scandal in Rampart Division, somebody who's worked with the immigrant community to make sure that we treat them humanely and with justice, and who's helped everything from the trans community to the communities of color represent and see themselves represented in the department. We got a long way to go with some things. We want to make sure African Americans become police officers in the next generation at a moment when the national conversation puts a lot of peer pressure on you if you're a young African American, like, I want to become a police officer. Nobody at your school or maybe in your family says, way to go. But we know that you can be the change if you're the face of change. Secondly, how can we reduce fatal police shootings? That's something this country is wrestling with. How do we de-escalate, continue to look at, why do things happen in one neighborhood but not in another part of town, the way that we approach. And I just saw in Mike Moore somebody who wouldn't not only put the vision forward, but day one could start working on making that happen. And lastly, somebody who really had a bold plan to listen. Officers don't feel listened to enough, and communities of color don't feel listened to enough. So we need somebody who can do both of those things right away, and I thought that he was the man who could get the job done.
And final question for both of you, for the black community in South Los Angeles, what would you like them to know, moving forward, just what to expect from you and, what to bring to the table, and just kind of under your administration, what to expect?
That we care. That we're guardians of each of our communities, and in the African American community, that not only that we care for them and we will do everything possible to protect them, but we also want to make sure that as we're doing that we're doing it in a manner that respects them, that recognizes the dignity of each individual. And lastly, I hope to set the narrative that we need them. We need them not only in a partnership and an engagement in the streets and in our communities, but we need them as part of our organization. This organization's its ability strengthens the more we are represented. And I'm committed in my administration to deepening and improving the representation of African American men and women. And to a young African American young lady out there, I say we're hiring and we need you. And please become part of my department.
You guys hear that? We do. We need more police officers in our community. So you hear the call. They're calling for you guys. So we appreciate your time, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time. And God bless you. All right. Look forward to more. Thank you. All right.